out there in land. And in a jiffy, we're going to welcome in the Facebook followers,
Yeah, in a jiffy.
friends, families, and I guess it's going to take a while. YouTube is far advanced because they're on the Google side.
They on the Google side.
Yeah.
No.
Welcome to integration. How may I help you? You know what? I'm
Yeah,
not
you
finna
can't be
do
doing that. You can't be doing that.
that.
Not on
Gonna
YouTube.
get canceled.
You're gonna
Gonna
get
get
canceled
canceled.
fast. Can't be doing those type of things, sir.
Woohoo. Let me stop. Take that back.
Please
Hold on. How
do.
you do
Please
it?
do.
Let me
Take it
speak.
back.
Take it back.
Take it back. There you
Yeah. Yeah.
go.
Okay. Take
Oh
two.
man. Let's see.
So
Sorry,
where are we
sorry,
on that?
sorry.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. It's all Gucci, baby. All Gucci. Look at
Bob
this.
stands
Look
for
at this.
big old baby, man.
Boom. Can't get into
Oh, oh,
can't get
oh.
into the real meaning of it all.
It's only three letters, man. How much of a meaning is it?
It could get kind of complex. Hey, everybody, welcome to Caps and Conversations. My name is Bob G, your web design strategist. Along with me here is,
Lamont. Wait a minute. Hold for dramatic pause.
there we go. Here we go.
Lamont, your metric specialist. If you ever need metrics to build your business, metric is the
This is the
way.
part.
Not
That's the
only do you
stuff.
have goals in place, your goals are attainable once you understand the metrics. Once you understand the metrics will tell you how your business will run, or even if your business is the right one for your goals.
I think we're going to change the name of the show from Caps and Conversation to Lamont Braithwaite's BS. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I have a whole BS metrics group over there, and the members are steadily climbing. They climbing, okay, sir?
They are climbing. They are climbing. So, anyways, man, it's been a pretty fantastic week. I know that we're doing this a little bit off the cuff with a Tuesday episode, but we had a couple of issues this past Saturday where we really wanted to bring on our guest, Derrick Daniels. It was a little tough because I'm going to be completely honest with you, everybody in TV land. These Comcast people, my internet service provider, they came over here
Don't
and
do
like,
it.
I got
Don't
to
do
do
it.
it. I got to do it. They came over here and like, cut some cable and like all my power went out. Oh, frustrating. But whatever. We got it all rescheduled. And without further ado, here is Derrick Daniels.
Going
Hey,
on,
hey,
guys?
what's
Y'all
going
had me
on?
cracking up back there, man. I was just over here dying laughing.
Well, see, Bob won't let me do my intro the way I want to, and
You had like 5 minutes to do your intro. What are you
wasn't
talking
five
about?
minutes. It was almost like
Man, come
25
on.
seconds. That's
It's
it.
almost 6:30 already. Come on. Come on.
Well, if you got to get your point across, you got to do what you got to do. Hey, man, Derek, how you doing? Welcome in. And how's your day so far, man?
Absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal. We got some good things rolling. Life's a blessing. Every day is a blessing. So good to be here for sure.
That's awesome,
Sounds good
man.
by my account, man.
Hey, so what do you got all what's that plaque you got behind the wall behind you there? That
This
small
one right
plaque.
here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this is one of our many promotion plaques. District leader based on our organization. So that's one piece to the pie. We get promotions in our business. Those promotions that are set in our business. You do this thing, you do this type of work, you get that attained, and then there's echelons and further you can reach. So those are specific guidelines and everything. One thing's for sure. I love promotions. I also love being able to see others win in life and in business. So.
That's awesome, man. That's
Okay.
awesome. So break it down for us. What exactly are you all about? Where are you located? What do you got going on in your business life?
So breakdown in general for what we do is if I can humor that for sure. It's like we help families in general with an understanding around money. So that's education and how finances really work. Schools, the government, banking systems, they don't necessarily give you all the tools and what you need to succeed in life financially. And so what we do, we're looking for people in general. We're looking for individuals that need help. A lot of times it's middle income families 25 to 55 years old, and really just people adulting. When you're living that lifestyle and you've been struggling living paycheck to paycheck, you need the education. So we come in and offer education, simple concepts that anybody can understand, and then we help them understand from where they are to where they want to go and coach them to those things. We're not advising people, we're coaching them in finance. And I've found that many people not only don't understand how to budget simply, but they also need an understanding of how to get ahead and have the resources as well. You might know the education, but you might not have the resources, and vice versa. If we plug the both together and give that to our clients and customers.
It's very good that you bring that up because I'm a product of the 90s, like going to school and high school and stuff. And, we had an economics class. Yeah. Economics. So
Right,
it's basically the way the money works, but for the country, not necessarily for my house,
right,
and
right,
it's really cool that guys are able to talk to families and show them what the essential basics of money is all about, and how to use it more of a tool than just as like toilet paper.
right.
So it's
Literally, and
awesome.
and it's like kind of what you said. It's economics. I mean, they might teach you something in school or even in college. They might teach you something. But we found most of the time when we sit with a family, I'm saving them $200, $300 a month or more, and that's just because it also is a discipline. If we're taught in school or even in general to be a consumer, then we're just consuming. We're not investing. We're not building growth. We're just building more debt, more negative interest, and instead of the inverse, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. I've seen that, like, especially when it comes like to the online space, that there's like a lot of people that are just, desperate for the attention of grabbing the last few, pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, from individuals that are out there, but that you're actually able to, show these people how to, find pockets of money within their current budget. That's absolutely mind blowing that you're
Right.
able to provide that kind of service for people. That's really cool.
That's crazy good. And to the point where, there's, like you said, there's a lot of people that's clueless when it comes to the financial sector of their business, and not even just their business but their lives, and I grew up that way too, because I have stories for days of how much money I squandered for no apparent reason. And looking 20 years ahead or 20 years back, I don't know where all that money went,
Yeah.
and it was a significant amount. Now, with that money, with that being said, the money that I had back then, I could have set myself up for the future. But, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I was
Hmm.
thinking about, okay, I can afford it now, let me get it. Or, you know, um, if I think I have a means for it, and most of the stuff that I bought, let me put this disclaimer out there. 90% of the stuff that I bought, I didn't even need, you know.
Yeah,
And it wasn't
yeah.
until I became a older aged man to realize that, I don't need the latest watch, I don't need the latest car, I don't need the latest this or that or the other. And now, when I try to educate people about their finances, they don't want to hear it.
Mm.
But I beg to differ, because I try to tell them, you have to look ahead, especially if you have kids involved. You have to look ahead, because if you don't do it right, it can all come collapsing down.
Dude,
Yes.
So,
that
you know,
that that reminds me of like how people would be. It's crazy. It's like, don't tell me how to raise my kid. Don't
oh
tell me
yeah,
how to
yeah, yeah,
spend my money. Right?
yeah,
It kind
Yeah.
of
yeah.
goes. It kind of goes
I
both to it, both in the same.
Well, I was in that category, and all the things was coming on, and like, financial education. I was like, I got money. I don't need financial education. Forget your education. Now, 20 years later, when I'm starting to bite the bullet, so to speak, I'm dipping in my savings a lot more, and I'm like, I wish I was one of those things. That's one of those regrets. I wish I had, spent my money a little wisely. So
So, so how
I
do you go
think I
about it,
think
Derek?
companies like yours are making a difference, though. I think it's making a big difference with the people that you have around you and your company involved as well. So
Right.
I might be taking a look into it myself. Tell you the truth.
And that's one of the things. And to your point, Lamont, it's a lot of times when we're stuck in that kind of consumerism mindset, we also a lot of times we follow our parents, we follow what we've seen, we follow the status quo. So if you grew up in a poor mindset or like a more spending habit kind of lifestyle, you kind of adopt that same thing unless you get taught something different that could help you. And that's the commonality is most families, they're so consumer happy, but it's comfort.
Yeah.
So it's also comfort. You know, you turn to the ice cream at night or the treats or the snacks or the going out and spending to comfort you from your traumas and your issues in the past that maybe you've gone through and haven't resolved. And so a lot of the times that's one big thing about it. So our company, what we're doing and how we go about helping families, a lot of times, especially for me, is I want to sit down with a family. When it happened for me and my wife, we were $100,000 in debt. We didn't know money. We made a good 6-figure income between the both of us in income, but we were 6-figure in debt. So it was like we were stealing from Peter to pay Paul, making the money just to pay the bills lifestyle. And that hit a chord for me. I was working. You're spending more and more time doing more things. We ran a bakery from home. We averaged anywhere from $600 to $900 extra a month running a bakery from home. So we already had that entrepreneurial mindset. We just didn't have that entrepreneur income. We didn't have the growth in our money. And so we find as we sit down with families, we can help them save on things like auto and home insurance, renter's insurance, help them understand legalities, having legal protection plans in place as well. But it's taking the savings through a budget and being disciplined to a goal that changes everything. When you guys have, when you're like, man, I want to have something in 2 years, I got to go, or even in college, people will go to college for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they don't know what the debt they're stacking up, how that's going to impact the rest of their life. So they go in thinking, I'm going to be a doctor, and it's going to be great. But next thing you know, those student loans are saying 4, 5, 6 grand a month is have to be paid. And if you're not making that kind of money coming out of school, it's kind of tough. So when you have a goal in mind, and you're disciplined to that goal, it changes everything. When you're like, no, I can't spend that extra money on this because I got this, it means more to me. If you never have a goal though, you don't attain the reality. You're not disciplined to those things. So that's a big deal. And I love the focus on the saving side, because you can save somebody $200 a month, which most families we find they're spending 5 to 7 days on Starbucks, $7, $5, $8 a week. Or every day of the week at least.
A day,
a day, right? And that's about $200 a month. And if you were to throw that into some good quality, mutual funds or investment products that might help you get a higher gain in return. Can't make any recommendations on that, but definitely you could see yourself having more of a retirement and having more money for your long term.
So what do you say to somebody who's like, let's say between like 25 and 30 years old, maybe just like, a couple years out of college, that, is looking to, like, they have the vision, right, of a particular goal. So what do you say to them on how to start saving? What would be your coaching to that person?
So specifically, I mean, it's always person to person basis. And that's one thing we find a lot of times people want a cookie cutter for the general society, but there's never a cookie cutter. Everybody's a different person and a different need basis. So when we sit down with a family, I'm asking questions like, what do you make every month? What are your spending habits? Typically, what are you spending on this, that, and the other? And usually it's budgeting. That's a big deal. But families will, they'll see they're spending, I've recently sat with a family, saved almost $1,000 a month when they're making a 6-figure income, husband out working, making a 6-figure income, mom staying at home with a bunch of kids. And the reality of all of that, it says there's a need for specifics. So for that family, if I sat down with a family, individual, maybe, or somebody's married, 25, 30 years old, they got to have a plan to budget, and they got to have a plan to know what their goal is in retirement and protect their income until they're there, right? The real basic needs are dying too soon, being covered, and living too long. Everything else in between that we find is just experience, right? When you're living, you got to have that coverage. So go ahead.
Yes, sir. You right there in the front.
You in the front.
Oh, hold on a second. If you're saying something, you got to probably tap your mic or something.
Yeah, I've heard of dying too soon before you get everything out,
Mhm.
but living too long. I'm gonna need you to touch upon that a little bit because that's a new one on me. Because I planned on living like as long as possible, but how is living too long factors into what you do?
That's huge, and I thank you for asking me that, because at the end of the day, if you didn't pass away, you got to have more money, right? The money has
Yeah.
to keep staying there, and a lot of times what we find, and if you've ever gone to Walmart, anybody's ever gone to Walmart, a lot of times you're meeting an old woman or old man at the door saying, "Welcome to Walmart," or
Hmm.
checking tickets. Usually, the
Right.
reason why they're doing that is because they have to supplement income because they didn't have enough in retirement. They didn't get the rate of return in their
Okay.
years prior to 62, 65, 67, or later. And that's what I mean by the not enough money or to live a long life, right?
Okay. That
So
that makes perfect sense. Because I
yeah.
was like living too long. I was like, yeah, that's was my plan,
Right.
but then again, if you run out of money, but I can see that you have to put some foundational support around yourself, to support yourself in the future.
Right.
And that's not being taught a lot. Well, it's being taught a lot, but there's a lot of people it's falling on deaf ears because they think, well, I can't take it with me, but
Mhm.
it's not really about you. It's about your family or your kids or
Right.
some assets that you want to give to will to your family or generational,
Right.
however you want to go about doing that. But I never thought of it that until I turned, I want to say around 45. That was 5 years ago. Uh, and I started thinking, I said, with the kids, if I was to die today, my kids will be okay for maybe a period of 5 to 10 years. But that's
Mm.
not enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not nearly enough. And I think that we all need to be educated on the different methods of how you can generate money and how we can save money. And I don't know how to pose this question, but if okay, I'm just act like I need help right now. How
Right.
can you help me, a middle-aged man? Uh, let's say I'm on my slippery slope of the downhill side of life. Anything could happen.
Over the
How
hill.
could you how could you set me up to potentially help my family in years to come?
And Lamont,
What I can ask.
I want to say this with some love and care wrapped around it, right? I'm gonna prep you on this. Middle age is actually, this is something that not everybody thinks about, right? Because they talk about 100 years of life, but life expectancy is about 85, right?
Yeah.
And so middle age is really right around more around 35, 40, 45 years old. And
Hmm.
so when you look at that the reality of sitting with somebody and saying, "Hey, how could I help you?" It's what do you need help with? If you feel burdened somewhere, people have pain points. They're going to talk to you about those. And I find that most pain points are garnered around things that they don't have much control over, that they have loanership of, right? If you have a car loan, you're a loaner of a car. If you have a
Hmm.
mortgage, you have a mortgage, you're in loan of to a loaning company, right? That mortgage loan, right?
Right.
And so it's a very very common theme that people also have a loanership of like a life insurance policy as well, and it's very 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 hard to step out of what you've already thought was right. So if
Right.
you've thought that was right for years, 20, 30 years of your life, you think that that's just
Hmm.
what you got to do, and eventually something's just going to spring up, right?
Right.
So when we sit down, let's say I sat down with you and I'm asking you the questions, I'm like, Lamont, what do you pay right now currently on your auto and home insurance, renter's insurance policies? Do you currently have something to protect your assets if you pass away prior to having the millions you need for retirement? And if you don't have the millions you need for retirement, then what kind of income would you actually need to sustain life if you passed
Hmm.
away prior to life in retirement? How what would your family need to sustain life? So, because that's the biggest thing about it too, is when we die too soon, we leave behind a detriment. And I don't know about
Yeah.
you guys. I'm a faith driven guy. I'm not saying promoting Christianity at all. Believe and have faith in what you believe. for all the audience out there as well. But in general, when you think about that, I believe that the spirit world is around us. And if I had to watch as a spirit, my wife and kids' life fall into perilous times because of what I didn't prepare for financially when I could have been, that's a big issue for me too.
I think it hits men kind of harder because we are known as the protectors, the providers, and such. And
Right.
if I was to keel over and I can't function, let's say for the next 10 years of my life, I don't want to have that burden on them. To the fact that I will die of regrets after that, because then I'll be like, I didn't do enough. I didn't set my family up so they can survive or thrive in the event of my timely passing.
Right.
And that hits home to a lot of people.
Exactly.
Bobby, you was going to say something?
Absolutely. No, it's very true. It's like, I have that, run on the back of my mind too. Like, I think it is like how you say, Lamont, that it's a guy thing. It's a head of household thing. It's a, if you're looked at, no matter what type of household you come from, but if you're looked at as the providing source for the family, that's something you definitely have to think about. Because if you're gone tomorrow, I mean, really, who's going to take care of your family? And we're not talking about like your extended family. We're talking about just right there. Are you knocking on wood? Were you just knocking
Yes,
on wood?
I am.
You're not
Yes,
going
I am.
anywhere, man. You're going to live forever.
you got this,
man. Hey, man. I'm skating thin ice right now.
No. But yeah, it's like, how do they say it in the field where like when you're coming out to be like an entrepreneur, it's like nobody's coming to save you, right? So you have to take action for yourself. You have to take action for yourself, and if that's the outcome you want, to have some sort of nest egg, we'll call it, for your family, you have to do something today, all right? Because you can't go back in time to take care of it then. You got to do it now.
That's it.
And get on it.
That's
so
it.
Derrick, like, okay, so you talk about having your own business, and then like you talk about like a company. What's the correlation there? What's going on there?
Yeah. So in what we're doing, is that what you're meaning?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we're doing in essence is we bring people on a spare time, part time. Just so you know, for me, when I started this, we were $100,000 in debt, like I said earlier. We needed out of that lifestyle, and I started off spare time. I made an extra $650 getting licensed and trained professionally in the industry, in the finance industry. And that was at my times basis. I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't go to McDonald's and make the extra money I needed to get ahead financially. I was just spending time to just stretch my life even further into detriment, having less energy and availability. So started making that work for me, got licensed, and started making $500 to $1,000 a month. And 6 months later, we paid off $48,000 of debt.
Oh, that's wow.
Congrats
on that.
I still get chills every time I say it, because when you're looking at that tunnel of debt and you look at your income and you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, as you talk about being the man, being a breadwinner, being the man of the home, it's that nuclear family mindset that I still have, that I want to be able to change that. I want to be able to change the generational code as well in my family. And that was a big deal for me. So, looking at my wife and thinking to myself, corporate America, I worked my butt off, thinking that some position, someplace, somewhere was going to give me the income all of a sudden, and our lives would be, blossoming financially. Right. And unfortunately, two different positions, different companies. I worked my butt off, and I was going to get that position, and I trained the new guy that eventually get the position that I was being told I was going to get.
Oh no.
So, I thought 6-figure income, kiss butt, show up early, stay late. You're going to get it eventually. And it didn't happen. And that was one thing for me that I connected to this business and this company, was I know that I can show up for my family on a spare time, part-time basis to eventually have a full-time income, replace the income at the job, which last year, about February last year, actually, is when I went full-time in business for myself, and then for my family and generations to come. And that's the key. It's truly having the understanding of a plan in place for your out strategy. If you didn't want to be in a job, and don't get me wrong, jobs aren't bad for everyone. Business isn't good for everyone. or bad for everyone, but I believe wholeheartedly
jobs are bad for mostly everyone.
and
Mostly everyone.
I agree, but to be honest, if you understand investing and you're making enough money and staying budget wise, and you can understand how to use the tools and not be a slave to the tools and the system, which is one thing we teach. We teach people to be smart about what they're doing with their money and be owners instead of loaners. That way they can take advantage, because the banking system, you go to the bank and the bank doesn't say, here's how we're going to help you, Bob. Here's how we're going to help you, Lamont. They say, how can we help you? And you have to come up with the idea. If you don't already know money, then you don't have a difference. They're not going to say, we're going to put you in a class that's going to teach you how to invest and save and all these da-da-da. And that's the problem. See, societal norms say, and your moms and dads probably told you the same thing that my mom and dad said, put your money in a savings account or the bank. And the bank gets 12, 18, 24% gain on the money you hard earned and put in the account. But they know how to, they can turn that over, make more money. And when you come back, you've got the money in the account. But they don't teach you that. So the problem is we're a slave in a system that was built to make those that understand the system to stay rich and those that don't to stay poor. So the whole adage of like the rich get rich and the poor stay poor, they never put the middle income in there either. They never said nothing about the middle income in that category. So
I think go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Lamont. I look at what the hell's the name of that show? Shark Tank, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a phenomenal learning tool. Like, yes, you have people out there with great and stupid ideas, whatever. When you look at what they come in asking for, right? Let's say they want, I don't know, $100,000, right? The sharks say, "Oh, I'll give you 100. I'll give you 100 grand, but you're gonna pay me."
But they want a percentage of your company.
No, you're gonna pay me $800,000 over the next 4 years, and after you're done paying me back, I still want 3% of whatever you make. Like,
no.
How is that? And people go for it. Go for it.
Yeah,
I like seeing
because
the stories where
they're thinking about it right now. They're thinking about,
yeah.
okay, well, if I can get that 100,000 right now, then it's going to turn on so many things. But they're not thinking about the long term investment of it, where you have to pay all that money back. Your company could be booming, and they'll give you everything to make your business boom, but you're doing the work. But the more work you do, you be like, okay, my revenue is growing, and be like, wait a minute. I owe 25% per month to the Shark Tank dude.
I can't afford that.
All he gave me was 100,000. Now he's profiting 700,000 times more, because I was too greedy and I took that first one at face value, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. But what you wasn't looking for was the fine print, the 25%, the 800,000 uplift, and so forth and so on for the lifetime of your business. And I'm like, hey, bro, no.
Fine print. Yeah. And that's Lamont, you said it, and that's the real hard basis, right? When you buy a house, a car, when you invest in something, so many paperwork situations where you're going through. You don't read. I don't know one person that ever said, "Yeah, I sat down and bought a car, and after 4 or 5 hours of buying the car, I read all the documentation." Right. The same thing happens, and why our company thrives is because we have high quality but lower cost life insurance that protects your income. And what we believe is buy term life insurance and invest the difference. Because what'll happen a lot of times, and this is just commonplace, I'm not saying that there's different theories and ideas and stuff and whatever. I'm not going to debate on that for sure. But the reality is, most of the time when we sit down with a family and they have something like whole life IULs or VUL policies, we find that they're paying way too much. They don't have much growing or have anything saved enough and said there for a drastic measure or retirement. And that's a big deal. When I've sat down with a very recent, actually recruit and business partner of mine, she had 6 whole life policies. She was paying $500 some odd for those policies. She had half the coverage she needed to replace her income if she died. and she only had about $3,876 paid to her out of her cash value when she'd been paying on that for 12 years plus.
Oh
Oh
my
no.
gosh.
So imagine you're spending, and that about half of that should have been going into the cash value every single month.
Yeah.
Half of 500, it was like 570 some odd dollars she's paying per month. We got her a policy for $152 a month for $900,000 of coverage. She only had $500,000 of death benefit before for 6
Oh
policies.
wow.
With one policy, we covered her life insurance. She paid a fraction of the cost in what she was paying before, and that's for 35 years. That's to get her past 70 years old. And we're helping her understand how to invest. And that's another side of it where people really need to understand. They need to understand how to discipline, how to dollar cost average. The 3 Ds of investing is discipline, diversification, and dollar cost averaging. And what that just says is discipline says every month a certain amount of money comes out of your check and goes right into the investments, right? Out of sight, out of
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
That way, you know, your goals are getting closer to retirement. The discipline or the dollar cost averaging is saying, okay, I could spend $100 or $200 a month, but if something goes down in cost value, I don't pull the money out. I'm just getting a lower cost basis, so I'm getting more purchase power. I have more buying power,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And then the diversification is in multiple facets of income, right? Not just and this isn't recommendations, but IRAs, Roth IRAs, or mutual funds and things that actually have longevity, that have historical averages, meaning that if you wanted to invest in something, you wouldn't say, hey, there's a mom and pop shop down the road. It's been around for 5 years. Let's throw my money in it, right? Because that's volatility. That's, they haven't stood the weather to be able to stay long and be able to be
Yeah.
more viable. So the long-term investments, the long-term chance, the longer they've been in business and weather the course, the higher chances. So we found that there's a lot of different areas where people need the education, and that's the biggest piece, is just the education. If you tell somebody how things work, though, they will never choose. If it was their decision, they will decide. So
Yeah.
we simply help people walk their own minds through making the better decision, because it's hard.
You
Inception.
have to.
It's
You
hard
have
not
to.
to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we find is the easiest route, because at the end of the day, if you didn't know what you didn't know, you wouldn't do what you do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's true indeed.
absolutely.
True indeed.
So
That's really cool. That reminds me of when I used to work for a company, a retail company. I I had my little 401k and everything like that. And when I first bought into it, I was excited, because I was like, I never really done anything like this before, so I'm excited to see, like you said, out of sight, out of mind. I didn't see the money come into my check. I just knew it
right,
went somewhere that was gonna be for my future and stuff. So then, like 6 months after I started that, I'm looking at it and I'm like, so I gave you guys X amount of dollars, and I see the exact same X over here. No interest earned, nothing happened. I'm like,
No.
so what do you got to do? Just moving money from one side to the other, and that's it. That's it. And I'm
right,
like, nah, there's got to be a better way. So once I learned, because like I learned that I could go in there and make the investments myself on my 401k,
Yeah.
and from a 0.03% ROI, I was at 16 plus.
dang,
It blew my mind. I'm like, why don't more people know about this? why
I,
why
I
is this not being taught to anybody?
nah. I found out the hard way, and the only way I found out was because they was investing my money in the 401k and they lost.
oh
So
wow,
I was like, "Hey man, because I was working for a company for years, and of course, I lived with my grandparents, and they was telling me, 401k, 401k. So it was all embedded in my mind.
Hmm.
I didn't know they could invest your money. That was one thing, and I was like, okay, even if they invest, if they lose, do they replace? No, they don't.
Nope.
And I was like, I seen 5K go down to 1,400.
oh
And
wow,
then when I seen that, I was like, okay, give me all my 401k. And then they wanted to penalize me for taking it out.
For
And
taking
I
it
was
out
like,
early,
bruh,
yeah.
Yep.
It's a no-win situation. It's like you locked in, but I can't have other people gambling my investments, whether they think it's right or wrong. But I had no clue. I had no knowledge of how this even works. I just thought, I put it in the 401k when I'm ready to retire, get it all back.
Right.
But with today's day and age, I mean, everything is a threat right now. 401k is a threat. Social Security is a threat. Medicare is a threat. And and I feel bad for the generation before me who saved or stockpiled all their money into, Social Security benefits or Medicare or 401k, and they might not get it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
that's scary.
and the crazy thing about that, Amon, as you say, is like the baby boomer generation is there's a transfer of wealth that's going to happen that's bigger than any transfer of wealth that's ever gone around. And one thing about it is if you know where your money's going, you know where you're putting your money at, or at least you know a general consistency of you've got it invested in some good stuff, right? And your licensed professionals in investments will help you in that regard, and understanding that. The biggest problem with that is that uh, it's not diversified, and you
Yeah.
can even see like 3 to 4% inflation is average every single year. So if you're losing 3 to 4% inflation to inflation, and you're only like let's say you're in your job, you're getting 3% match, you're putting 3% in, you're only gaining 2 to 3% growth. You're only getting a difference of 2 to 3%. So a lot of people don't have this understanding. They just think, oh, my job matches my 3%. I'm gonna have enough. Like they blindly go into that kind of stuff.
But they
And
don't
again,
even
like
they don't even word it that way. They'll word it. We will match you 100%
That's
of
what
the
they say.
first 3%.
yep.
Yeah.
And that's it. They got
Tricky
lost in I'll
words.
match you exactly.
Tricky words.
Exactly. They get lost in the whole 100% match. Oh, that's it.
Right.
I'm in. Like up to the first 3%, bro.
So it's fear baiting is a lot of the biggest problem too. Is people are scared of the stock market. They're like, oh my gosh, it's going to crash, and they freak out. What we do teach our people is don't freak out. Calm down. When you start getting scared, call us, right? And so our investment specialists are prepared and ready and prepped, and we usually prep all our clients to understand, hey, look, the historical way that the stock market has grown, even though you're scared, is 10% on average every year. And even if it dips in the 1 to 2 years, you had the dot-com bubble, you had the 2008 stock or real estate crash, you had all these scenarios where happened, and even in COVID freaking out, people freaking out about COVID, and I'm going to lose all this and that stuff happens. But the biggest problem is when you pull your money out, that's when you lose. You think about all the people that took their money out in like Netflix, when Netflix, started, and if they hadn't taken their money out, where they'd be financially now is astronomical.
Yeah.
But there are so many people that said, "Oh no, it's gonna fail, it's gonna lose, they're falling apart. Let's pull our money out." And so that's just discipline, right? When you think about it, at the end of the day, your lifestyle is directly correlated to the growth that you have personally. And so like, how you have bad habits, good habits will show your life will reflect that. Same thing will happen with your money. If you have good habits with your money, your future life and invest in where your retirement is will reflect that too. So
Yeah, I remember when COVID was like a super hot thing. You know, I'm in Miami, right?
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
the port of Miami right there. I can spit and it's right there.
Dang.
So like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, they all depart from here,
Right.
and all their stocks tanked. And I'm like, man, come here. I got me some Carnival. Oh man, did I get me some Carnival? And man, my wife got Royal Caribbean. Well, she got herself some Royal, bro, and it's this one of the smartest things I've ever done in my life. One of the smartest things I've ever done, because I remember learning that even if in bad times, as in good
Mhm.
times, there's a way to make money.
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
a way to make money. And I saw the opportunity right there, and I'm like, I had to jump on it. I had to jump on it. When you have
Nice.
like, one of the top three, you know, cruise lines in the world, come on, man.
Yeah.
Those guys ain't
They,
going
they, they
anywhere.
just not going to go out of business,
They're not gonna
but
go out of
Yeah.
business. No, no, no.
they had a breaking point, which a lot of businesses do, and a lot of businesses don't come back. And I think they was judging the masses on, well, COVID is going to take everything out,
Yeah,
and
right.
there was a lot of people thinking that, and I might have pulled some stocks out of some myself because I was like, hey man,
What's going on?
I ain't I ain't making no money. They ain't making no money. So maybe I should take my money back and save it, but it's one of those things that you have to live and learn because, if you pay attention to the stock market, it's always going to replenish in some way, shape, or form. I was just always afraid to bite that bullet because I was like, yeah, well, I'm in it for the win. But if I lose,
What am I losing?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
I
Right.
don't know.
Derek,
But it's
how do you instill that discipline in your clients?
I mean, honestly, to be completely honest with you, it's just having them understand the goal. At the end of the
yeah,
day, it's your goals. It's when you look at, and it's easier to talk to somebody about their past, like where they grew up. Like if somebody grew up wealthy and living in a nice home, a lot of times they already have the disciplines to do the right thing in the first place, and they're doing a lot closer to what they should be doing with their money in the first place when we meet with them. If
right,
somebody like myself, and I love my mom to death, and she worked her butt off to take care of 4 kids, myself included, 3 sisters, as a single parent, and for me, you know, at the end of the day, like I'm not here to bash anything that anybody's ever done, but like my dad wasn't there, and like that killed the big morale for me. But all things came to reality. Like nobody came into my mom's situation, our lives, and taught us money and finances. So
Yeah.
I could go my whole life and still live a lifestyle paycheck to paycheck, just like my mom lived herself. Like the reality of it is the discipline is really the pain points, because what hurts you
yeah,
most, if you're smart and not conditioned and conditionalized situations, you just can't help. It's kind of like, you can lead a man to water, but you can't make him drink, kind of
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
If you're so, it's an indoctrinated state, or it's a conditioned state. If people are conditioned to living in a poor lifestyle, you run into that sometimes. They don't have enough juice or something inside of them to make them move forward with better and have that discipline.
yeah,
And then others like yourselves would see, hey, if this is what I could have, and this is a realistic goal, and I could be even closely, remotely around $8 million in retirement, that's my goal. And you knew you could stick to something to get right around that amount. You'll do the
mhm,
things that'll get you there, and we just coach you along the way. When you're freaked out about the stock market, oh my gosh, everything's going to go to crap, you call our specialist, and they'll tell you, hey, don't pull the money out, keep it in there. Remember, this is the reason why you started in the first place,
right,
so that you can get the returns. If you take the money out now, and the history of the stock market does what it does, what it's done before, you're going to lose out on all that
Yeah.
retirement. Do you really want to
that's
do that
true.
right now when you've already started? Right.
As a matter of
Understood.
fact, give me more money so we can buy the dip.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
That's exactly
Exactly.
what I did. I
And
bought the
that
dip.
and that's actually that's what most people that understand how it works, where there is fear, the investors run to. It's like, if you're like, oh well, shoot, this whole plaza, all the businesses had to leave and shut down. You're like, if anything, if an investment mindset, you're like, holy cow, I got a whole plaza I can buy, and then I
yeah,
can rent out all the plaza, and I can own the plaza
Yeah.
uh-huh.
myself, right? Because the plaza is going to crap, and the owner probably doesn't really want to keep it anymore. So it's a different mindset. Where there's a dip, a lot of people don't think to run to that, right? Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah,
Amazon's going down, I should maybe think about pulling money out. Well, no, people are like, oh well, it's a lower cost basis, and I can put my money in. Amazon ain't going nowhere. They're gonna shoot
yeah,
right back up, right? So
Yeah.
exactly.
it's that kind of mindset.
So
But okay, go ahead.
no. I was just making sure that our listeners are still with us, and if they have any questions, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, please address the questions now. Because this is a
Absolutely.
good subject, it's a good topic, and a lot of us are unaware of what's going on in this day and time. And I, for one, was clueless about a lot, so I've learned a lot, and I thank you, Derek, for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely, Derek. It's been like freaking awesome because it reminds me of like the television shows that would pop up, when you're like Sunday, whatever, nothing going on. You turn on the tube, and there'll be like the show of like these people that had millions of dollars, and in like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the scope of like 10 months, they're down to like
Yeah.
just it's gone. It's
Come on.
just gone. It's like, come on, bro. How
Yeah.
much money do you got to be spending a second to lose that kind of money? And I laugh. Yeah, if you're watching this, previous millionaire, I'm laughing at you, because how
You,
the
you know
hell
what?
does that?
You know what?
How is that
No,
possible?
no, no. Because they actually, I think it was some years ago, and I'm gonna take some time and I'm gonna dig this commercial up because when I was in the States, there was a commercial of a modern family, big house, white picket fence, dogs, everything. But the narrator, while this man was mowing his lawn on his, riding lawnmower, was like, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I have the biggest house on the block." He said, "Yes, I have 3 cars. I have 4 kids. I have 2 dogs, and my lawn looks immaculate." And then in the background, it was like, "I'm up to dead up to my eyeballs," and he was
Yes.
just cutting grass like it
Yes.
was just a normal thing to do,
Normal
like
life. Yeah.
normal life. But inside he's really dying. He was like, "Hey man, somebody help me."
Right. That's and
You have
that's
to
it.
find that commercial, man.
That's
That's
it.
one of a
Like
kind.
the one thing's for sure. You can look at a family and think they have it all together, but they're falling
Yeah,
apart financially, and that's a it's a you it's such a crazy thing. I'm a big guy in faith, and so and this is not to shoot any kind of religion or faith or anything, but like it's commonplace. I talk to any of my clients about their faith walk and stuff, and then I talk about anybody else in your congregation struggling financially. And they're like, yes, and I always kind of ask them, like, isn't that kind of crazy? In Christianity, we talk about good stewardship of your money and things like that. But
yeah,
what's crazy is to me is most of those families are going into the church and they're paying their tithes and offerings, and they're driving in on the hoopty with two missing hubcaps, and the
Yeah.
right tire is a donut, right? And and
Yeah.
and they're driving into church and they're still paying their 10%. But what are they doing for themselves financially? And it's like, it's to me, it's kind of crazy. It's contradicting that that's the case. But at the end of the day, like you can't tell somebody what to do with their money. They have to be willing and desire to change. And that's another part to it all, is just like, when you
Don't
really
don't
desire to change it,
yeah,
you gotta have the right kind of situation. And that's what I love about the business. It wasn't for me and my wife. We saved almost 200. It was like $287 a month on our auto policy. We were with USAA. This isn't Bass
mhm,
USA, but we found our rates were going up. We saved $287 a month. We got a life insurance policy, 400 grand on me and my wife, uh, 25,000 on both of our kids at the time. That replaced our income, pretty much. And then we started paying off debt with the extra savings that we had left over from that, and we only pay $124 a month on our life insurance policy to cover all of us on that. So for me and my side, I was staring at 2 times my annual income, and if I died outside a job, would they even pay it out to my wife to take care of my family? So these are big deals. These are big deals. It was a big deal for me to understand how to have a plan, but it was also a big deal
yeah,
to not be subjugated to not understanding how I'm being a slave to a system that wasn't built for me, that wasn't built for
exactly.
our success
That's
necessarily.
that's well put. That's well put.
Very well put.
Well,
Very, very well put.
we're hitting the 45-minute mark. We don't want to keep you up too long or keep you out too long. Or wait
Yeah,
a
yeah.
minute, hold on. I'm no,
One of
I'm
those
the
two.
only one here, but you have a sound business, and I applaud you for at least going in that direction where you can teach people financial literacy, because a lot of people fail on that aspect, and it's not just the masses. I'm failing at it too.
Right.
I cover myself when I try to learn what I can learn, but you still need a financial advisor at some point in time in your life, and I appreciate what you do. And
Financial coach, I would say. Financial coach.
financial coach.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Do I got to
But
put a disclaimer on this
what's
episode?
the what's the difference between a coach and a financial advisor? Isn't that the
So
same thing, or
a lot of times, and this is not every time, but a lot of times an advisor will cost you money up front to sit with them. A lot of times have to have a
okay?
lot of money to invest, or it's not worth their time to sit with them.
Yeah, I ain't there yet. I ain't there
So,
yet.
right. So, yeah. So it's like, as a coach in
Uh-huh.
sports, you think about like athletics, right? A
Right.
sports coach will teach you and coach you to be better. And an
Uh-huh.
advisor, a lot of times they'll advise you on what they think is best for you. Now, it's not to say that
Oh,
they don't
okay.
have good ideals and that they don't plan good for you, but we find that a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times there's some areas where there's some missing pieces. So,
Okay.
Awesome. Derek, man, for real, from the bottom of my heart and from Caps and Convos altogether, thank you so very much for taking the time. I know that it was a little crazy struggle there between Saturday and
yeah,
today, but I'm really glad that you were able to make it out and share with us what you have going on as far as like your business and the angles in which you attack everything, and how you help families at the end of the day. Like that's the
Yeah,
real, that's the true flex
that's
right there.
that's
Because
commendable. Yes, for sure.
yeah, finding
thank you so
two or
much.
300 bucks, a month is that's a good amount of money at the end of the year. Every other
Yeah.
Exactly.
month, that's extra groceries, that's extra gas, that's extra everything you need to continue on living.
Right.
So thank
Yeah.
you again for coming on to the show, man. We really really appreciate you.
It's been an
Um,
absolute pleasure for sure. And again, like I told you guys before, if I can put more out there and benefit you guys, that's another aim for me. I think Business 101 says find the need and
Yeah.
fill it, but Business Networking 101 says find another business and fill them. So that's another piece to what I want to do to help. So
oh, we'll definitely be
I
inviting you
like
back
that.
on the
I
show to
like
see
that.
where you're at, in another like 4 or 5 months down the line.
you're
And
right.
yeah, we'll be really, really, really happy to have you.
Awesome.
Four or
So
five months.
until
We need to
next
get them in
time.
before then.
There's a line. There's a line.
It's a line there.
All
Yeah,
right,
there's
man.
a line, but I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you, Derek. Man,
That's
Derek,
that's
that's like awesome. Awesome.
it is,
Have we
and
had
to
anybody
the
like
point,
him on here before? I
not
don't think
in
we
a
have yet, right?
financial, not in the financial part of it. No, we've had entrepreneurs, a plethora of entrepreneurs, digital marketers, affiliate marketers, and we never had nobody speak financial literacy. And that goes a long way because there's a lot behind that subject alone that we need to touch upon because if not, it's like we're hustling backwards,
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much.
You definitely have to find a way for the people to, kind of get ahead in life and not necessarily be a slave to, you know, I don't know how else to put it, the man, because we are living in the man system,
Yeah.
keeping the rich rich and keeping the poor poor.
Hey, I'm going to
To
find that
break
commercial,
away of
man.
that. It sounded familiar when you were talking about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
this sounds so familiar.
Hey,
But it's like,
every time I look at it, I laugh, and I be like, "Man, is this how life's supposed to be?" But I laughed at it back then, but I missed the whole entire message
yeah,
from the
yeah.
commercial.
They're
You know?
putting good humor to like, real life misery.
Yeah, in your face, blatantly. And I
Absolutely.
didn't pay attention. So that's one of the things that you can always teach your kids, if not teach yourself, is financial literacy. Because going through school, they don't teach about finances. They teach do this, get good grades, graduate, go to the next level, and none of that involves money. So, and then you find out when you get your little 4 year degree that you can't get a job anywhere, so you're working at McDonald's, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
The list goes
yeah,
on and on. So, I mean, it's one of those things, man.
yeah. Well, I
But
I look forward to having him back on
my
here
my
again. A little bit down the
yeah,
line.
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure, because that's one topic that never die. It needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
You
for
know.
sure. All right, everybody. So thank you very much for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate you. We'll be back again on Saturday at 10 a.m. We have a very special guest that I'm not even going to give you a clue about who she is,
Come
but
on, man, you
it's
got to
going to
tease
be
or something.
a tease.
Yeah,
She's got hair,
what?
eyes, and fingernails.
Wow, Bob. You know what?
Hey, all I can tell you is that if you don't make it, then you're just gonna miss out because she's got all the peas and carrots for your
Well,
for your
they wouldn't
casserole.
necessarily miss out. You know, they just have to wait till, you know, it's re-uploaded to Spotify and then you can see it there.
I guess so. I guess so.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
All
Hey,
right,
you know,
guys. Thank you
I'm
so
still
much.
wait, before you go, I'm still kind of jealous because, you know, you got everything in your background. You got your plaques, your pictures, and, you know, Derrick had his plaques, his pictures, his awards. Ain't got nothing back here, man.
How about this one?
Well, I'll take that. Hey, start a
All
show.
right. Right.
All right.
All right, everybody. Stay up. Thank you very much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on Saturday at 10 a.m.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Ooh.